Remember that kid, Logan? He probably could have looked it up for me. I'm just doing math here, which kind of hurts my head. If I want to know how to pet my cat properly, I might go go on a cat forum and ask how should I pet my cat? And then I'll get 600 answers over there. I mean, I've never done that before, but if I did, people always ask, what do you really think? This is the show where we answer motorcycle and motorcycle product related questions.
Live from Pahrump, Nevada, the Valley of the Dirt People. It's Tech Talk Taco Tuesday with your hosts, Jimmy Lewis and Logan Tyler.
And we are live, and Logan is not here. Logan refuses to come in and co-host Tech Talk Taco Tuesday. I think. I never actually asked him, but I just thought I'd say that. And that's why I can't translate foreign languages, and I can't pronounce names and all the other stuff. But welcome, everybody. It's good to see people joining in so early, so quick on the show. My name is Jimmy Lewis. I am your host, and I might drink one of these tonight. I'm going to be crazy and do one of these. But I do have our favorite tequila of the night, which is the same one as last time because it's within arm's reach. But I'm going live on the Instagrams right now, and Brady wants to know what's the main page. If you go to @DirtBikeTest on YouTube, @DirtBikeTest on Facebooks, we are live there, and that's where you get to see all the fancy camera angles. You get to see this whole studio. You can if everybody else is watching, you get the Jimmy cam, and you get the guest cam, and see Scott Hoffman is not here, so we're just going to delete him. He was our guest last week, so he's gone. And now you can see Travis riding a Suzuki in front of the Bulletproof Designs logo. So, but you can't see any of that on Instagram because you have a short attention span. So, welcome to episode number 233. It's been a long time. I'm glad you're here with us. This is the show where we answer motorcycle and motorcycle product-related questions. My name is Jimmy Lewis. Of course, this show would not be possible without the help of some fine sponsors, and I'm going to read those off to you because I put them on a list so I don't forget. Of course, there's Yamaha. Yamaha makes really awesome motorcycles, and if you are wondering, like Brady did on the Instagrams, if he wanted to know if Beta is going to put KTM out of business, I think Yamaha is going to put KTM out of business because they sponsor this show, and that's probably the best investment dollars you could spend on advertising to bring this incredible content to the people. Because I like to help. This is how I try to give back once a week. Of course, we have Takomoto, sponsors of Roost or Endo. We have exactly 2 submissions for Roost or Endo tonight. We'll get to that later on in this podcast. So just think, if you would have submitted a Roost or Endo, you would have a 33.3% chance of winning. But the 2 guys that did it, they have a 50% chance of making $100 tonight. Thanks to Takomoto. That's takomoto.co. If you need cool stuff for your dirt bike, they can help you out. Excellent customer service, and they have lots of. They really specialize in the KTM stuff, but they do the gases and the Huskies. They're into some of the other bikes. Go to takomoto.co to check it out. Of course, there's Scott Sports. Someplace around in the background here, you see my collection of goggles. I need to pull some of those down because I've worn out or scratched up or beat up and washed my old ones too much. So I'm going to have to take my props away and start wearing them. I'll hang my worn out ones there. Climb, one of my personal sponsors, my favorite gear. They make incredibly comfortable, functional, long-lasting, durable, everything good gear. I'm wearing a Climb flannel tonight. So nice. I'm comfortable here. Of course, DDC, Trail Tech, Fast Company. If you're in the Nevada, Utah, maybe California area, maybe Arizona area, it's not that far. Fast Company is having the Fast 440 this weekend. I may show up. I don't want to say that I would race, but I might show up and ride. There will be it's basically a 6-hour race. A 6-hour. It's like there's like 6 hours of pre-racing and then a 40-minute sprint. So Fast Company, that's at Mesquite. That's at the track out at Mesquite. I don't know the name of that particular track, but might go and do this. And of course, Bulletproof Designs. If you need some protection, some good durable protection for your bike, check out Bulletproof Designs. And of course, Double Take Mirrors. Always support this thing, which is Dirt Bike Test, by clicking through our Amazon or Rocky Mountain ATVMC links. The way you do that is go to dirtbiketest.com, hit the support us button. There's links there. You can really help us out. It does make a difference. So there we go. And I'm going to go to the Instagram question because I want to get back to that. KTM Jack. Okay, that wasn't the one. Brady asks, are the new KTMs garbage? And so with that, I'm going to sign off of the YouTubes. I'm going over to the main channels, and I will answer those questions there. I'm going to end it now. There we go. A lot of people saw that. At least 300,000, including some kid I don't know the name of, and a guy who may or may not have 8 national enduro championships. So good to see all those people on the Instagrams. And now we're going to go over to the other thing. So are the new KTMs garbage? Absolutely not. They're awesome motorcycles. In fact, right now, if you have money in your pocket right now, there probably won't be too much of a better time to buy KTMs than right now. I mean, I'm seeing crazy deals. I paid as much as I could get a brand new 300. I paid for a used one back in 2019. So that's how good the deals are right now. So, yeah, just go to any deal. I think the dealers are flooded with inventory. It's kind of just the nature of things. And in the second question he asked was, is Beta going to put KTM out of business? No, Beta is not going to put KTM out of business. I have talked to a few people that are in the know, and the financials don't look that good for KTM. Like when you're asking for $100 million to go continue doing what you're doing. But at the same time, when you have a product like that and you see how much of the company is owned by, we'll call it insiders, and Mr. Pierre, who runs all those, Pierre Mobility Group and stuff like that, seems to be pretty savvy with how he does business. And I would think that, yeah, it doesn't look good on paper, but when you have a product like that, it's not going anyplace. That's my take. That's what I think. But then again, probably should. I'm the guy that's adverse to making money, so you might not want to take my financial advice on anything. But now is a good time to buy a motorcycle. So Chris Snewitt says he doesn't have any hair. Let's see. And wait a minute. He's responding to Marco's question. Hi, Jimmy. I do have my thinking cap on. I'm ready to learn. I don't know how that works. And then Motorcycle Storage from Las Vegas says fabulous. So Sawyer Llewellyn says, hopefully Jimmy gets to give us his honest opinion about the Triumph without RC having to show up with that baseball bat. Baseball. Oh, the baseball. Did I talk about getting beat up by Ricky Carmichael? Maybe. Didn't happen. We have a comment about that someplace. And then Jimmy Campbell says, hey, Jimmy. And he gives me one of these. So rock on. Yeah, I'm now down there with you. The Devil Horns. And I'd rather spend the money at Hong Kong in TJ, Victor says. Victor's back, my friends. So anyways, we will get right to it. So couple bits of business. I sent out like a lot, like 100 and something Tech Talk Taco Tuesday t-shirts back, before we took a break, in between seasons of the show. So right before the season of the show where we probably should have canceled the show, but we kept going, sent out a lot of Tech Talk Taco Tuesday shirts. My request to you, it came in that little piece of paper that I threw in with every single one of them. Take a picture of you wearing the Tech Talk Taco Tuesday t-shirt someplace cool and send it to me. And the only feedback I got back from any of that stuff was one guy that said his t-shirt was a pile of crap. So send those photos in. We're going to put them on the show, and I may or may not, if I remember to or I have time to, I will reward you for sending in those photos. I won't embarrass you that much, except putting you on this show. But make sure it's in a cool place. I mean, like really cool place, not like Hong Kong's and TJ, Victor. Mm-hmm. Okay, so let's get on with the other parts of the show. So we have Roost coming up later on. Because everybody wants me to talk about the Triumph video, to tell them what I really think, I'm going to do exactly that. Because I really want you to know exactly what I really think. So here we go. If I can get my cursor over there and make this thing work, I can get it going. I'm Jimmy Lewis with Dirt Bike Test. Today we are in a top secret location in Georgia at Triumph's off-road racing and product testing facility, and we are riding the brand new 2025 TF450 RC Edition. This is the way they're going to release this bike in 2025, and we're going to tell you what we think. Triumph has had a plan with this 450. They're saying they're all in, and from the perceived impression of the 250, it's been very successful. So here's what we know about this 450. They looked at everybody else's bikes. They've been testing all the different bikes. They've got Ricky Carmichael involved. It's looking like a successful way to go about doing this. The 450 is essentially the same as the 250 in the chassis and the suspension. The suspension's tuned a little bit different, but you could literally interchange the motors. And the bikes were sort of developed in parallel. They just decided to release the 250 first. Now, the biggest difference is the engine. And although they're the same bolt pattern for mounting, everything is different. Instead of being a double overhead cam, the 450 is a single overhead cam, 4-valve.
I'm your football-obsessed best man.
When all eyes are on you, my eyes are glued to the game.
They're too cheap. I should have kept that going.
Engine with a 5-speed transmission. It has a hydraulic clutch. It has Del Ordo fuel injection and engine management by Athena. And what that does is it incorporates the same features as the 250 with traction control, launch control, the ability to use multiple maps through the Triumph app. On to the power, and here is what we feel. But remember, this was done on a one-day impression on a very tacky red Georgia clay track that we weren't super familiar with. So things could change when we ride it. Yeah, we're pretty confident. This is a chunky 4-stroke power band, meaning it's not like the 350 style of power where you have to rev it. You can lug this thing. It really starts with a lot of torque right off the bottom, and the torque curve feels mostly flat, which on a 450 is a good thing because you can ride it in almost any RPM. So it comes on with good power, has good power as it goes to the mid-range, and up on top it continues with good power.
Okay, so if you're wondering why we're rewatching this, it's because I don't have to say it again. So, and the probably the worst thing is me having to listen to myself and then watch me ride really slow around the track. But we'll get to it. Just formulate your questions. We'll get you some answers, and hopefully, just suffer through it with me. There isn't a zone in this motor that is what we would call downright impressive, and there's nothing that you're going to be let down by. The cool thing about this bike with the 5-speed transmission was there was 2 gears for everything, and sometimes even 3 gears if you were willing to let the motor rev down quite a bit. The other awesome thing is Triumph has their interchangeable map. So it has 10, or now I think 11, because there is a Ricky Carmichael map pre-programmed into the ignition and able to be tuned with their Triumph app, which uses the phone to communicate via Bluetooth. This comes standard on the RC Edition. And the Ricky map, well, frankly, I
I didn't like it, mostly because I'm not Ricky Carmichael, and he was riding a gear lower everywhere around the track, so I could see where this map, which was a bit more, it was a little flatter on the bottom, but a bit more aggressive up in the upper RPM, where I liked one that actually the stock map, or even some of the more aggressive maps, were really impressive for me, because I could actually ride the bike at gear high and it would pull it with only throttle. So the tunability is good, and Triumph says they're not letting you individually tune the maps. They're giving you complete supplied maps because it allows them to be more aggressive and not limit the ability of the tuner to compensate for somebody that might do something that would go outside of a durability parameter. So overall, it's a really good motor. It's doesn't really compare to anything else other than it's just really smooth, really good, and really easy to ride. And yes, that means it's fast. We played with some of the features on the handlebar buttons. Traction control, couldn't tell. There was just too much traction all day and very few places, even in the morning in the mud, where we could get it to actually activate. The launch control, same thing. We schooled around with it and didn't really have the opportunity to tell, but again, we're not super familiar with that traction condition. The bike liked to lift the front wheel off the line, and good thing it comes stock with a launch control, because that will help you here.
So we're watching our first impression video of the Triumph 450. That's the TF 450 RC, and I'll tell you a little bit about that in a few minutes as well.
The other one, quick shift. So we liked this on the 250. On the tracks here, we weren't shifting a whole lot, but we did notice that every once in a while our foot would touch the shift lever and cause the rev cut uses to make it shift gears when we weren't actually shifting gears, and that was a little bit weird as well, so we mostly left it off. The Kayaba suspension basically is, frankly, really good. This is the suspension that everybody is shooting for as a target, and Triumph has done a really good job with coming up with a setting that is just balanced and really neutral. We clicked the suspension one click one way, noticed that it didn't go in a direction we liked, and we went back. You can feel the changes. It's one click suspension sensitivity that usually is a sign of a very precise chassis. Of note is a lot of other outlets were playing around with moving the forks, kind of at the suggestion of some of the faster test riders. That's not us, but we also noticed that this gave the bike sort of a heavy feel. We ran it at 100 millimeters of sag, and we're happy with it all day. It has good bottoming resistance, it's supple, and even when the track started drying out at the end of the day, the bump transmission through the chassis, through the suspension, really didn't feel that bad. So I think they've nailed it with the suspension, and very similar to the 250, no complaints. Onto the chassis and the RC Edition, which is the only way this bike will be released. It has ODI bars and grips, which are kind of Ricky's signature items. It comes with a graphics kit. All the bikes will come with the number 4 and his signature, all that kind of stuff. And then it has the Hinson clutch cover, which is the cover only, and it has some engraving on it. These are the things that make it the kind of the special edition, that it's the only edition you're going to get in 2025. But the way the bike works, the chassis, again, very neutral. The aluminum frame doesn't shout aluminum frame, or it doesn't do anything that's going to tell you it's some way special or different. It's, again, neutral, balanced. The handling, it's not a notoriously front-end heavy or front-end steering bike, nor does it really like to slide or have the back end kicked around. Just kind of neutral and happy. And probably the good thing about this is it isn't, at least from the old days, a Ricky Carmichael setup, which would have been swept back handlebars and low in the rear. Those days are gone, and watching Ricky ride the bike today, he looks very comfortable and happy on a bike that I was very comfortable and happy on. So they didn't make a crazy race version or something weird that the general public isn't going to like. It's narrow, it's easy to move around on. It has a gripper seat as well, so that's going to help you stay on the bike, especially when you hook up and get going. It's easy to move around on. The foot pegs provide really good control. Triumph was very insistent, pointing out class-leading power to weight ratio. And though we didn't have a scale or a dyno on hand, they're claiming around 62 horsepower and 240 pounds wet. So I don't know what that ratio is or where they're getting at, but the bike didn't feel down on power and it didn't feel heavy. Actually, it kind of feels lighter in the 450 world. It has a kind of an agility to it, and not to the point where it gets sketchy, where sometimes light bikes tend to dance. This one felt planted and sticking to the ground, and it didn't require any extra effort through the handlebars, or it wasn't, tough to move around when you wanted to make the bike do stuff. So they might be onto something. If this is where they're going and this is the direction that they want to be leading at, it's going to take some back-to-back, and we'll let you know when we figure it out. They're using high-quality components on this. The Brembo brakes, for instance, have really good feel. They felt ridiculously strong as well, but also the traction was really, really good. Dunlop tires, again, the traction was really good, so the tires they were almost like Velcro, kind of insane. So I don't think Triumph has done anything crazy. They really wanted to kind of stay in a place that was going to be good for a wide variety of riders. And we spent all our time playing with the engine mapping features more so than adjusting the chassis, because frankly, we were really, really happy with it. In conclusion, at $10,999 and available in February, this Triumph, it's really similar to the way we felt about the 250 when we first rode it. It doesn't have any faults, and it doesn't really stand out in any one area other than being a really good rounded package. Again, unfamiliar track and one-day riding impression. I'm sure we'll get our hands on one of these, spend a little bit more time on it, learn a little bit more in familiar places, but I don't think there's anything that you're going to be afraid of. I think Triumph is staying on course, building really good bikes, and they are in it for the long haul. So after a day of riding the TF 450RC, that's what we think. So check us out over at dirtbiketest.com, everything. It's all over the interwebs, and leave comments, and we'll talk about it on Tech Talk Taco Tuesday.
Okay, enough of that. Now you've had to watch that video. If you've watched it before, sorry. You can just go to the bathroom. So that's what I thought about them. It's exactly what I thought about the bike. So people always ask, what do you really think? If I really thought anything different, I wouldn't put it on. I would put it on the video. I mean, that's the reason I do the videos, so I don't have to repeat it over and over again. So that's what I really think. So if you have questions, now you've seen the video, now you can ask the questions. And let's see. Tony Worth said, I sent my picture in. Well, maybe it'll be a next time, but you're going up against Victor. And yeah, you did get the Triumph video. So I do as I'm told. So George Justice, who has I think maybe, I can't remember if he's famous or not, but I think he co-hosted on this show once. I forget people. He says, I'm sure enjoying Monkey Butt. There's a Jim Lewis mention, but it seems way early in the story to be you. Highly recommend the book. Yeah, Monkey Butt right here. I'll pull that up and flash it up for the camera. This is Monkey Butt. Rick Simon, he was the editor of Dirt Bike Magazine, call him the father of Dirt Bike Magazine, really. He passed away recently, but the book's still available. I think it's going for $5,000 a copy right now. I have 2 of them, and I'll sell one. So good times. I'm riding Monkey Butt too, very slowly. Like, if Rick talks about how slow of a motorcycle racer he was, that's how slow I am at writing a book. So just so you know. Jimmy Campbell says, I'll send you a picture going up bear trap in the spring. Oh wait, so though they're talking about sending the pictures of the t-shirts. That's good. And Tony, when did you send your picture in? I sent my picture in, he says. Maybe I didn't get it. It's my name at dirtbiketest.com. That's how you send me stuff if you want to coordinate with me on the show. If you try to go through my riding school page or other stuff, it gets lost in the mail. Trust me. Bear trap. Yeah. Don't tear your shirt. Let's see. Utah Desert Racer says, seems cool, but I don't ride moto, so I'm not buying one. Don't worry. They're going to make off-road versions too. And Chris Reel, who also texted me while we were watching me ride around and not do the double jumps. That's because I wanted to get more jumps in. That's why people go, why don't you jump that double? Because I wanted to get more jumps in than everybody else. The Triumph sounds like a good overall package. This is correct. As a package, that's probably the most surprising thing about it. It was just like the 250. It's the same. It's that same thing. It's like they did their homework. They looked at stuff. They figured they didn't go outside of the box. They didn't try to reinvent the wheel. And Chris says he remembers riding a Bonneville in the 1970s, but you can't toggle screens, huh? Okay. Let's see. Not the one guy was riding in Baja. I'm not sure. Victor. So lots of stuff going on in the chat. If you are watching this live, you get to watch the chat kind of float around. It's up there in the corner. If you're listening to this in the podcast format, it's really horrible live. It's almost as bad as watching that video that I just played, watching me ride. So Travis Mullaney says, I bought an 06 KX250 smoker, and that means two-stroke for all the people, that was built by Swap Moto for Alex Ray. Okay. It has air forks off of a KX450 and not sure I like them. Only got to ride the trail, so interested to test on a track. What's your opinion of air versus spring? So Travis, I don't know who builds bikes for Swap Moto because I've never seen Don Maeda with a wrench in his hand. Never. He's good with a camera. He can post videos faster than anybody else I know. I've never seen him touch a wrench. So I don't know who built that. He probably had somebody build it and did it that way. But air forks. I like air forks. I always have liked air forks. They are a little too complex for most people. In other words, you have to kind of like your tires, you have to make sure there's air in them and there's the right pressure of air in them. And some of the air forks with multiple chambers, with multiple air chambers, you had to check all of the chambers and understand what each chamber did. If I just wanted to hop on my bike and ride, I think that air forks, especially multi-chamber ones, suck because you just want to hop on your bike and ride. And most people don't even check their sag, so how can you expect them to check their air in their forks? But they're lighter. The ones on the more recent KTMs I felt really good. They were, they didn't leak. They self-bled between the chambers and stuff. So you set them and you didn't have to set multiple chambers. They're way lighter than a spring fork. In other words, you're taking all the way to the spring out. So I like that feeling and I like the progressive nature of an air fork. So I like them. If you're trail riding a motorbike, I don't know if that's going to work. That might be kind of the worst situation for them because you're going to want the fork to be a little bit softer. And so you let air out. And since it is more progressive, you can get more softer per, you can make it softer, but if it sacks out, if it kind of gets soft to the point where then it kind of gets harsh. And so, yeah, and I'm pretty sure that they put the air forks off of a KX450 on it because someone wanted the spring forks for another bike. Or who knows? I don't know. But that's my opinion, Travis. Let me know if I answered your question accurately or gave you enough information about that. But I do like air forks. If it wasn't for having to check them, I would like them on everything, as long as they're as durable as what, current spring forks are. And I think the latest versions were actually really good. The early versions, there was problems. They definitely had some seal issues and stuff like that. Rally Navigator, Rally Roadbook Systems, which I use, by the way. I'm a big supporter of Rally Navigator. That's a Mike over there. He says, is Triumph making a street legal dual sport version? The answer is not yet, but I think the answer is 100% yes. We asked them that, and there was a lot of, I don't know if they actually answered the question, but there was a lot of head shaking up and down to answer yes. So May, he sent it back in May. Tony sent my picture. He's Tony, I get all kinds of stuff gets lost in my world. So I'm sorry about that. I'll do my best. Again, show brought to you by good companies like Yamaha, Takomoto, Scott Sports, Climb, DDC, Double Take Mirrors, Bulletproof Designs, Trail Tech, and Fast Company, makers of the Flex handlebars. I ride a lot, and my wrists are bad, and Flex handlebars very much are the reason I can ride day after day and still have wrists that don't swell up and creak and crumble. Spot on, Travis says. I'm not familiar with them, but that breakdown made perfect sense. Thank you. That's what we aim to do here at Tech Talk Taco Tuesday. Welcoming all the people from the EXC and XC Performance chat over on Facebook over, because I troll around there a little bit. I kind of answer questions when I feel that I can provide more information than the 146 other people that answer every question that goes up there. So if you do have a question over there and you don't know which, and here's where I was going to go with that. If you ask a question on a forum and you get 146 answers, how do you know what is going to help you decide which the right answer is, what the right thing to do? Are you just going to collectively, because if you're asking the question, you obviously don't know the answer. Or are you just crowdsourcing and you're just going to go with kind of the best thing? Because when I decide to look at all the comments, and once I see 10 comments on there, I'm not going to look anymore, because it's going to take too long unless I'm kind of doing some just research to see what people are saying about a particular thing. And man, I don't know if because I do this on other things. Let's say there's something else I'm interested in, like cat. I like my cat. I have a cat, and if I want to know how to pet my cat properly, I might go go on a cat forum and ask, like, how should I pet my cat? And then I'll get 600 answers over there. I mean, I've never done that before, but if I did, how would you know, how do you know the best cat petting person is, or gardening, or, when I do like construction, I'm not good at that either. But I'll go to the University of Google or University of YouTube to watch how everybody else is, floating a floor, or maybe, wiring up some electric. And it's scary, because it's the same kind of person that's answering those questions that's answering your questions on these motorcycle forums. And if you have that much time to spend, I like a helpful person to come along every once in a while. And I'm talking about myself when I say, I don't like talking about myself that much, but in this context, because I'm helping, when I go on this, I really want to help, but then I see all the answers and I'm like, I'm just going to sound like a complete tool bag, because I'm probably going to say something that's not as cool as what the other people are saying, because generally I look at a few things when I answer a question. I have a lot of experience. I've done it before. I've been in your position. I know what works. I'm cheap to a point that I'll spend a lot of money to get it right when I really want to make it work. And so there's all these factors where I'm going to give you the answer that's probably the least expensive answer first, because that's where I would start. And then if you want to ramp it up a little bit, I can answer in that way. So I'm going to go after a couple posts that I saw on the EXC chat. And when you're forced to watch that that Triumph video back there, watching listening to where I rode the bike, like the RPMs I rode the bike, and because all the footage was me. Scott Hoffman also rode the bike a little bit later on in the day because he was mostly videoing and shooting photos, and then he got to ride it in the afternoon. I shot a few photos of him riding it, but we didn't get a lot of video. Plus, I just like watching myself ride. You what you need to do is you need to go watch. We did it last week. You need to watch us ride, and then watch all the other guys that were there ride. With their top riders, and then figure out who do you ride more like, and who would you like to listen to on as far as an opinion of how the bike works. So just saying, just like throw that out there. We got another question from Jamie Borno Reno. I started toying with the idea of getting an air-cooled play bike so I can feel what it's like to ride something to its full potential. I was thinking on something like an XR 200 or a TTR 230. Man, Jamie, that's that's one of the smartest questions I've ever heard come, because usually we start, we're Americans, right? I don't know if you're American, but in America, we like to buy a top fuel dragster to drive to work. Try to get our hands on, some sign of a supercar to just drive through the mountains. And it's the same thing. It's like, I'm going to get a 450 motocross bike as my first bike to go to the track on. I've never ridden before. But there's something to be said for having a bike, and it doesn't matter whether it's air cooled or not, but a play bike, something that you can get to the end of the throttle on, that you can hold the throttle wide open, and then you get to quit thinking about that, because so many people do so much stuff, or they have a bike that they can't even get to the wide open on the throttle. And like the Triumph 450 we rode, it was so rare that I got that throttle like really, really buried. And if I did get it buried, I was like a gear or two high, and it was at a low RPM, so it wasn't making near peak horsepower. But back to getting this, a play bike or something like this, when you start getting used to, being able to, start milking out the power, and I'll just talk about you're wide open, and then you're asking myself, is it revving to the point where it's going as fast as it can? And when do I exactly shift so I don't, I'm not into over rev so that I'm losing power. You're shifting at the right time, just keeping the bike in the meat of the power, so you're like always wide open. And so you start learning about how to really manipulate the power, make the power, since you're not having to worry about the throttle, it's done, you're wide open, then you can start shifting when you need to. And then you can make sure that when you do get on the gas, you're getting on the gas nice and aggressive. And you will learn a lot just in power management from there, because there's one less thing to think about, the throttle. And then you start realizing on bikes that don't have a lot of power, you start picking lines and making line selections that aren't going to slow the bike down. You'll start radiusing turns. You'll start, being smoother. You'll wait a little bit longer before you get on the brakes. You'll start realizing you can use more brakes. You can get off the gas and slow down quicker. And all the mechanics of riding more efficiently, more faster, learning how your body position on the motorcycle can affect how it handles, how it works. And with a bike like that, low horsepower, you don't get as much correction out of the throttle. So when you get on the gas, it not only doesn't correct you as much, it also doesn't get you out of control as much. So you will learn a ton on that. And Mike Kmet, wow, good to see you again, Mike. I remember we talked about your Cam ET. What was it? Old days XR 100s were trainers and still fun. I still ride TTR 125s all the time. We ride them on our flat track, and we're always goofing around. We go trail riding on them, and it's cool. You get to learn a lot about how to ride by riding, low horsepower bikes, small displacement bikes, so you can just pin it and get some stuff done. So, Jamie, good question. If we're giving away something for the best question of the night, that would be winning right now. And Tony Rees says, for riding BDRs, what would be a better option, a Cove 450 or a Cove 800X? I have not ridden the Cove 800X, but I would say the Cove 800X, because the BDRs have a lot of high speed, fast roads where you want a kind of twin cylinder type of bike. And for most riders, for my ability level, skill level, and the people that I ride with, the difficult sections are nothing that a decent rider on a twin cylinder bike can't get through kind of safely. So there we go. Okay, back to my questions from the EXC group. Jim Piscatelli, I said that right, I think. And he's talking about, and I'm going to read it. I'll read it without even interrupting myself. Don't waste your money on a new ECU. I installed the JD Power Tuner 6X on my KTM 500 EXC and was a game changer. Now I have excellent throttle response, no backfiring, and better fuel mileage for 1/3 the cost of a Takomoto Get ECU. Believe me, I took a flyer on it thinking it was smoke and mirrors, but it works. And there's 143 comments currently on this post. And I read this and I saw the picture, and I have issues. I have a lot of issues, but these are even better. So this is what I think right away. Jim, what year 500 EXC was that? Because I will tell you that I agree with you 100% for certain years KTM 500 EXCs. And that's what I've done to a few of my KTM 500 EXCs. But at a certain year, the KTM went from closed loop to open loop. I'm getting that backwards. Open loop to closed loop. So it started sniffing the exhaust gas and making adjustments to the fueling based on that. So if you did put a JD tuner, which basically interrupts the signal from the ECU to the fuel injector and either enriches or leans out the mixture. So the ECU tells it what to send, and then you either add a little bit or take a little bit away depending on some parameters. It's a really great tool. It's easy to tune. There's a lot of these things. They're called piggyback tuners where you can make adjustments. The JD one is similar to like 3 or 4 other ones out there. There's one called a Dobek tuner, which I don't know how many maps you can get with that, but JD always kind of sends it with a pretty well-tuned map. I have experience with this. I've worked with them before in dialing in some maps on different bikes. He's absolutely right, but at a certain year, and Taco Mike would be the guy to answer this because he knows this stuff. There's a year, I think it's like 2019, where all of a sudden the KTM starts, we'll call it sniffing the exhaust. And so if you modify the map through a piggyback tuner, it tries to correct it. It says, uh-oh, I'm too rich or I'm too lean, and it tries to correct it. And it doesn't do it right away, because I put one on of these bikes and it made it horrible. It wouldn't allow it to work. And so at that point, whatever your cutoff that is, you need to go to something. You need to do something different. What do I do on my 2019, on my 2020 and 2021 500 EXCs? They're stock. So that's what I do. But I run them that way because they make enough power. They're plenty fast. They get great fuel economy. Mine don't backfire. But I also didn't take the reeds out. I didn't do an emissions delete. The only thing I did was on most of I've switched over to an FMF Q exhaust. But I did, if I left the stock exhaust, I took the perf thing out at the very end. Not the whole snorkel thing, just the thing at the very end. And my bikes run fine. I've done peninsula runs. I've ridden them all over everywhere. Actually, my one has, I don't know, hey, hot take here. There might be a Today in the Shop live edition tomorrow going down here. You can watch me tear, I believe it's I forget the numbers, 12,000 mile KTM 500 that started making some weird knocks, and I don't know what it is. So I threw it on the stand and I said, I'm going to do this live on the show. So you can watch that. But anyways, so I'm not sure what possessed Jim to go and throw that up there, but you're a new guy and you've got a new 22 KTM 500 and you go, I don't want to spend all that money on the Get ECU. I want to do something like this. And you do what he says, it's not going to work. And I don't know. I haven't checked to see if JD's selling them for the bikes that they don't really work on, or if they have a warning that says maybe they don't work. I've actually had a bike with a Get, or not a Get, with a Vortex ECU, and I also had the JD tuner on there, and that completely didn't work either. Like those two things got in a fight and didn't work. So you got to be really careful about like what you're changing and what you're, what he's trying to accomplish. I'll tell you the main thing when people start talking about getting all these ECUs, and I'm not a huge fan of these big ECU swaps, because the companies, when they build these bikes, and it's not just KTM, it's any of these companies, they spend a lot of time getting a tune that works. And for sure, the first thing it has to work for is meeting sound and emissions. And I'm going to say that in order again, meeting sound and then emissions. And then it has to perform adequately. And they do. And sometimes it's a little bit goofy and wonky, but I'll tell you how they meet the sound. They put the RPM limit down. They lower the RPM limit. So when you feel like your 500 EXC doesn't rev far enough, that's probably a good reason to really start thinking about a different ECU. More so than I just want more power, because I promise you that in almost every rider that I have ever encountered that wasn't a super high level rider, and we're talking like, really elite riders, and I'm not even including myself in that group, when they're riding, they're never they're never at the RPMs where the ECU, where the competition, the extra ECU revs, they're never there. And if they needed more power, they could always turn their throttle farther. And they don't do that. They want to turn their throttle a little bit and get something out of it. And generally that's fine when you're in really good traction or you're on a dirt road or something like that. But once you get in something technical, most of those ECUs tend to do stuff that we'll call it, gives it parking lot bounce, gives it really good, like kind of crazy throttle response, too much throttle response. And then it makes them worse riders. So that's my thing. I didn't read the 143 comments, but I'll tell you what they said. Everybody put about their own comments about how everything worked and why you needed to get it. And I got this ECU and I got this pipe and I got this, that. And I put the double squirt injectors on there, and I cut the emission stuff off and threw it in the trash. They don't know what it does, but they did it anyways, and all the things. So unless you really know what you're doing, I would say just leave it alone. Leave it stock. That's my rant for this kind of stuff. John Buckle has a question. Contemplating a TPI 250 or 300 XCW for desert and mountain trail riding. He's a 200-pound rider. What is your preference between the two for rideability and longevity? I do have an opinion on this. I know. And it was funny because Chuck's son, who is a show guest on this, he's a 250 guy, loves the 250. And I'm a 300 guy, love the 300. I always sort of have like the 300. I liked the 300 back in the old days with the 250 ignition box on it because it let it rev farther. Just speaking of what I just talked about. So longevity, exactly the same. You're not going to get, there's not going to be really no difference between the two. I mean, if you really broke it down, maybe since the 300 makes a little bit more power, it could have a little bit, it could wear, I would say, long wearing stuff out, like maybe the transmission or something like that, but I've never seen any issues. I wouldn't worry about longevity. I think between those two bikes, they're the same. The difference is the more you like torquey power, like you like to ride a gear high, the more the 300 becomes a better bike. The 250 likes to be ridden in the proper gear, and if you like to ride it higher, like mid to upper RPMs, the 250 is a better bike. You can ride it faster. It seems like it would. 300 is almost like a little too much when you're riding it like mid to upper RPMs, and it doesn't. It's not happy up there. It's happy, but not as happy as a 250. A 250 when you're, it's not throttle position. It's more RPMs. When you're in the upper RPMs and you're, kind of letting that thing sing, the 200 is just, it's making a little bit less power. But it's plenty of power, and it's really easy, to maneuver the bike. It basically handles better. It seems like it really works there. So you feel a little bit of a weight difference, a perceived weight difference between the two bikes. The 250, of course, feels lighter. And at 200 pounds, you're not at a weight where you're going to need the grunt the 300 has. The 250 is still going to get the job done. So, you can lug the crap out of a 250, and it's not until if you're lugging and then you kind of roll on, the 250 will. It's not that it won't accelerate; it just doesn't accelerate as authoritatively as the 300 will. So take that for what it's worth. Hopefully that answered the question. And Chris Reel says, on the ECU swap for dual sport guys, and Chris knows, when you do a race setup map, expect to get fewer miles per gallon. This is correct. The OE maps have some fuel trim that extends the miles per gallon. This is correct. How do you get more power? Put more gas in it. Generally, more air, more gas means more power. So I don't know that, and Chris might know this, I don't know that they would ever go to a point where they're lean that would cause durability. I know that the stock bikes can run a little bit hot, but a lot of times that's because the mufflers also are a little bit more restrictive and they kind of trap some heat in. But remember, when they tune these things, it's a system. It's a system from the air cleaner, actually even the outside of the airbox, because some of their bikes have snorkels and sound dampening devices, all the way to the tip of that muffler. It's all done as a system and meant to work together for sound, because that's the hardest thing, and then secondarily for emissions. So, okay, I'm going to go back on to the other question I pulled out of the EXC group. John, I'm glad you liked my take. Or you thanked me for my take. I don't know if you liked it or not. Let me know what you end up with. And then and the best thing is if you ever have a chance to go to like one of these, I know KTM does them, Yamaha does them, Beta does them. They do demos like at National Enduros and at some different events, dual sport events, or they'll rent a track or, a ride. They'll go to a riding facility. If you ever have the opportunity to go to one of those things, and sometimes you have to pay an entry fee, like $40. And whoa, Mike Kamet just chucked us some money for tequila for Jimmy and or cat treats. And get Chuck Sunbutt. Oh, Chuck's coming back. I've got some work for Chuck. We're gonna do a little trail work. Chuck, I heard likes cutting some trails, so we're gonna go clean up some trails around here. Thank you. I really appreciate that. But if you can go to one of these ride days and ride all the bikes and ride them back to back, and you don't get a lot of time on them, but you get enough time to kind of ride them back to back. That is some of the. It'll help you so much in kind of making these decisions and kind of open your mind up to maybe, you have a first person experience. You get to ride them and you get to know what they feel like, as opposed to listening to ding dongs like me try to describe them as accurately as you possibly can with a personal bias that's, probably ridiculous. So next one from the EXC group, Mike Sweeney says, my goal is to eliminate flameouts. Okay. After searching this group, I think my plan is to get my stock ECU tune, get a power end cap, remove the reeds, get a screenless air cage, and an O2 delete. My bike is a 23 FE 350S. I can do all this for $550. What is the group consensus? So, Mike, the group is going to tell you 20 other different options, and at least 3 of them will probably be pretty good, but you're going to get 20 things. And I don't know how, if you didn't know, if you want to eliminate flameouts, I'm kind of curious, like, well, what exactly is a quote flame out? That's a term that I'm not exactly sure. Is it like a backfire, or is it a backfire meaning there was somehow there was extra gas in the exhaust and then it met some air and it exploded, which is a backfire, which is kind of generally a result of a richish condition most of the time, or an air leak in your exhaust. So there's ways you can fix that, and all of the stuff that you're kind of talking about is going to create a much leaner condition, except for get your stock ECU tuned. I'd be really interested to see how, where that's going, how that thing. So Tim Anderson says a stall is typically low speed. So you're saying that the bike is not geared properly for the speed you're riding, or you're in the wrong gear, or what? Or you don't have the throttle control to modulate it properly? Because I was just riding a 2003 KTM 250 RFS. And if you want to talk about one of the most over-carbureted bikes that you have to be careful with how you turn your wrist on, that is it. And so I can ride that thing fine all the time because I know what I'm doing with my wrist. And I've ridden, I don't know about a 23 FE 350S. I've ridden the KTM version of that, and I never had any problems with, quote, flameouts. And remember, this show is brought to you by Yamaha. Of course, Yamaha does not make a dual sport 350cc motorcycle. If they did, it would obviously be the best. And, they know that. That's why they don't make it, because they want to leave room for other manufacturers. Yamaha makes the best power tuning app known to man that's available on all their YZ 4-strokes. If you have one, you could actually tune the flame out, I think. I've never had them flame out, but you could tune that out. So, get a Yamaha, but they don't make the dual sport bikes. So, I've heard people talk about this and complain about it, and it's like, what's the root cause of the problem? And doing all those things, I don't know if it's actually going to fix it, because I've been riding with guys that had a bike and complained about something similar to what you're talking about. And then they got all this stuff and they said it was gone, but I was riding with them and I watched them stall just as many times. I think, especially on the 350, and Tim Anderson says early KTM 350 XCF was really bad. It would just randomly stall. So in reality, what's going on here is they're trying to make these bikes higher performance, quicker revving, less weight feel in the engine. So they're taking a lot of the mass out. So there's a lot of inertia in the crank and in the flywheel weight and all these things. And sometimes, the bike has a tendency to stall because of the load that was put on it. And especially when you're at low RPMs, and this was really common on big 4-strokes back in the day, that if you open the throttle at the wrong time, because it's turning so slow based on what it's doing, you can actually cause the bike to, it's not going to go. All of a sudden, the mixture is not right. It doesn't have enough inertia to keep that crank going. And we got a definition of flame out from George. When you turn the throttle from idle faster and farther than you ever would riding it, and it coughs and dies. Where'd you get that definition from? Did you ask Google? Because if I had Logan here, remember that kid Logan? He probably could have looked it up for me. But I'm amazing at doing this show all by myself. I'll just have you know. And Jamie Bornino says Borno Reno says raising idle speed surely helps. Bingo, that's correct. I should give Jamie that $10. That's what I should have said all along. On my FE 350, the idle speed was critical, says Chris Reel, and this is true. I don't know why I just overlooked that completely, but Mike Sweeney wants to spend $550, and I want to tell him to turn his idle speed up. Actually, I forgot to tell him to turn his idle speed up because I just went on a rampage. And the Utah Desert Racer says, that's why I like 302 strokes. He gets no flame out. Oh, you want to bet? Let's see. And George put a comment up that we can't read. I'm going to have a little sip of, this one is, Don Cayo, something. Yeah, George gets most of his wisdom there. I don't know that that's the correct answer. So, okay, got a couple other questions that we pulled from some things. Benjamin Steiner is talking about our Triumph video. And Benjamin Steiner says, so for the 250, they, meaning Triumph, copied the KTM engine. Now for the 450, they just put a 450 cylinder on a copied KTM 250 engine. Don't think that's a good idea. Well, Benjamin, you seem to be very enlightened, and that's absolutely factually incorrect in every way possible. Triumph made no bones that they looked at everybody's stuff. And if you look at the shapes and different things and locations of things and stuff, they were definitely influenced by the KTM. But I don't know of any KTM part that would bolt on to the Triumph motor. Okay, so that means it's not a copy. And the 250, they did not put a 450 cylinder on it because it's completely different. If you look at the cases and everything, the holes line up in the frame, but it's not the same. So, and since you don't think it's a good idea, Triumph didn't think it was a good idea, and that's probably why they didn't do it, because you probably are their main advisor, I suspect. So, another email. Hi, Dirt Bike Test. This is Jasmine. I represent the Wodo Coal Company, whose aim is to help Jackery and do overseas promotions. You do really great contents, so we want to invite you to this collaboration. Here's info about this campaign. Jackery Solar Generator 1000 V2. Okay. Send it. Yeah, just send it over here. You can get my address off the internets. Dear Dirt Bike Test, I wish you a wonderful day. I'm Sonia from UTK Technologies. Thank you very much for your wonderful and rich content. Woo. creation and sharing the YouTube platform. I really like your video style. You have bad style then. Therefore, I would like to share with you a business cooperation opportunity. So, all your friends that say they're making a lot of money on YouTube, they must be doing collaborations with companies like UTK Technology, because they make far infrared technology company mainly involved with far infrared heating pads to relieve waist, back, shoulders, knees, and other body pain. Let's see, the far infrared heating belt and far infrared heating shoulder strap are being marketed. I think this product is perfect for your fans. That means you. This product is perfect for you. Now I'm going to have to click the damn paid content thing. Let's see. If our product can get your strong recommendation, it will have a key promotion effect on the sales of this product. Okay. I don't even know what it is. I won't put a link in the description because I want you to buy Bulletproof Designs products. That's a company that makes good, strong products that I can believe in because I have the radiator guards on my bikes. I have the rear disc guards on my bike. Let me say that again. I had the rear disc guards on my bike. I'm going to put the front one, the nice wooden front one of these days. But it's such a cool thing. I don't want to break it. It's made out of maple. It is breakable. It says can be used as firewood. So bulletproofdesigns.com. Tell them Jimmy Lewis at Tech Talk Taco Tuesday sent you, and you might get a surprise in your box, which is like maybe they'll double bill you, or maybe they'll ask you to send them a hoodie from your company. I don't know. Great company. Good. We had Bud on the show a couple shows back. I think 221, I think was the show with Bud. Interesting. Talked a lot about, how they make a lot of stuff for the extreme enduro crowd, because I'm extreme enduro. Let's see where we were going to go to next. I was going to go to some of our video comments. At American Enigma says, talking about our Triumph review, finally a review for the everyday rider. I was getting ready to buy a KTM 350. I'm over fighting the 450 arm pump. This has me rethinking my position. It looks like a relatively rideable 450. Feel free to correct me if I'm wrong. No, you are not wrong. You are right. It is rideable. It's Tech Talk Taco Tuesday at what time? What time are we into the show? 1 hour and 14 minutes. So if you have questions and you watch our videos, sometimes I go through there like I just did, answer the question, and then reply. And the best thing is people go, what's TTTT? It's like it's a freaking code word for a really cool show. Where's my buddies at Inside Live Moto? They haven't been telling me. I must be doing a good job getting the show posted up on time on the podcast, because I'm not getting the texts about, hey, we're at the shop. Where's the show? Nice looking bike. It's with Brian Martindale. Let's see. Do you like the Carmichael edition? A really nice draw, says Ultra SS something or other. And he also says, with all the flat torque and many maps, would it make a good dune bike or sand track style? When it gets in Nevada, hopefully there might be some more intensive testing. Well, I don't know if it's going to end up in Nevada. It'll probably end up in California because it's a motocross bike and there's a lot of tracks there. So we'll turn it over to our track team. I will show up and ride it for sure at some point, because I do want to. When I ride at a different facility, a place I'm not familiar with, I always like to ride the bike at some place I'm familiar with so I can get more of a grasp. And if you watch that video, that was a very gummy, Georgia red clay, and it rained the night before. It was really kind of slippery, but it rutted up really quick. It was so. I don't want to say it was. It that dirt aerated really quick, and there was lots of really good ruts. And fun thing. But that way, when I ride it someplace I'm familiar with, I can kind of compare it and I have a better bearing on how it works in different locations. I think that's something that as a test rider, it's really important to do, to be able to switch between, so you can kind of, I would say, theorize on what the bike will know actually how it works. And it's not, you're not kind of really influenced by the track you were on, although that it was like Velcro. There was so much traction. It was crazy. Andy 5786 says it's going to be a great 450 for Triumph first into MX. Thanks. And he's from Great Britain. Or he's saying thanks, Great Britain. And he's got a Chelsea sticker on his thing. Yeah, I think it's going to be a good bike for them too. Ride for Life 311 says, do you know if Salt Lake City will have a Triumph dealer that carries these? No, I don't know. I don't know this, but if they have a Triumph dealer, they'll probably carry these. Ride for Life also says, looks like a very well-behaved and balanced bike. I'm excited to try one. Well, go to your local Triumph dealer in Salt Lake City and ask them if they'll be getting it. I think Triumph, they don't have dirt-only dealers, but there's some dealers that are dirt dealers. Like they it's like an add-on. I guess you don't have to take the dirt bikes. I don't know why you wouldn't, because it gets a lot of new traffic in there. So, those are the questions we had on the Triumph. Pretty good. I wish I had, like, at this point, I wish I had a what do they call it, like a producer or something like that would help me push the buttons, because I can't figure out where. No, I don't want to look at my copyright right now. I want to look at. I want to find out where all the other questions went to. Lots of copyright issues on dirt bike tests because of the music we use. People are always trying to steal community. Here we go. Okay. Let's see. Fox13Z says in 39, I'm so used to hearing I am Jimmy Lewis, a Dirt Rider magazine. It's weird hearing him say anything else. What'd I say? Dirt bike test? You're lucky I just didn't talk about me the whole time during the Triumph video. But that's what I have this show for. Johnny Lightfoot 99 is talking about our bike build of the Honda CR450R. I have a 22 CR450R. I was curious if you had an issue running a 14 tooth up front, being the chain is so close to the hydraulic clutch solenoid. I currently run a 13 front 42 back sprocket on my Supermoto street setup. I don't know, because I don't do Supermoto and I don't have one of those bikes. So I'm pretty sure they don't have an issue, because they're doing Vegas to Reno on these things. And if there was an issue with it running on the thing, that would be a problem. So, you shouldn't put street wheels on any dirt bike. It's just a bad idea. That's my take. I killed Supermoto, by the way. I take responsibility for that. Check out our 4 million view modded KTM Adventure R. No, it's an all-wheel drive KTM adventure bike. And it's not electric motor on that thing, by the way. Some people said, oh, it's an electric motor, it'll never last. No, it's a Christini setup, gear drive, and it still doesn't last. Too much power. Let's see. What was the next question? Someone's guessing that my CR450X would go 100 miles an hour, and it only went 96. Okay, here we go. Hedgeman83 says, but the front is electric, though. So how reliable is it over 10 to 15 years? I have to correct myself. Now I see it as actually mechanical. Genius. What a... So I remember when he said it was electric, and he watched this enough times. It doesn't matter whether it's electric or not. This thing was only reliable for about an hour or two. But it was a prototype, and my job, when I had this bike, my job was to break it. That's what my job was with Christini, was to take this thing out and abuse it and break it. And I broke it multiple times, and we kept kind of chasing the failure stream. And then by the time we were doing this, KTM had moved on to the other platform, and the possibility of that going on a production bike was less. And so we quit fixing it. So that's how you build and develop things, is you take it and you give it to somebody that can abuse it under, what we call normal circumstances. And then sometimes you just run out of, okay, this isn't needed anymore. If there was a bike category that needs all-wheel drive, it's adventure bikes. I really wish that I wish it was an option, just like four-wheel drive trucks. If you've ever been in a four-wheel drive truck and you drive it in two-wheel drive, you get stuck, you push a button and it drives right out. That's what it does for adventure bikes. So, and then Super Disco 199 says our riding impression of the 2025 Honda CRF 250 Works Edition says good work. Would be interested to see how it works off-road. Well, they will probably, I don't know if they're going to make a Works Edition. I don't think they do, of the CRF 250 RX, but that's how it works. Let's see. Victor says you can just rub some habanero sauce on your beep and it will warm them better than far infrared. I'll tell you a secret now that it's getting not a secret, it's a tech tip. It's a tech tip, a nugget. If you're ever riding and when it's really cold and your face starts getting like wind freeze and stuff like this, and this is something don't ask me how I've learned it, but I did it. So those like little atomic fireball candies? Like, you get a couple of those things and just put them between your cheek and gum, because when you're wearing your helmet with the pads in there, it's kind of hard to get it down. But you can kind of put it in the back, and you put a couple of those suckers in your mouth and just let them stew in there while you're riding. It kind of makes the brain freeze go away. So I have not tried habanero sauce on but I'm thinking that maybe having a couple of chili peppers to just chew on while you're freezing your face off while you're riding. That could go a long way. And Utah Desert Rider 1806, not to be confused with Utah Desert Rider that's in the chat right now, I hope, says, as per Triumph, I'm not very interested in anything Ricky Carmichael. Wow. He was the GOAT. Great. I simply don't care what he says or does. I won't be buying a Triumph. I'm slow and I don't ride moto. But he loves my show and he wants to thank me. Wow. That's mean. Like, Ricky's a really cool... Ricky's nice. I've always... it's funny. Maybe because I was just a different kind of journalist. I wasn't like just bugging these racers all the time when I had to talk to them, interview them, or do whatever. I actually hated doing that. But Ricky was always very cordial and ridiculously professional. And he's still, to this day, he's like that. But when he turns off, like when he's not working for someone, he's just with his buddies and just BSing, he's really interesting, funny guy. And I wish he would turn off more, especially when he's commentating and racing. I wish he would say what he really thinks, but he is a professional. He does really good. And it was interesting to talk to him. I got to talk to him. I did the one video that we played on last week's Tech Talk Taco Tuesday, kind of answering one of our questions. But I talked with Ricky about like one of the bikes, one of the worst, the second worst factory bike I ever rode was his Honda. It was his 250 two-stroke. And and I thought it was the four-stroke. And he said that was the best factory bike he ever had. His Honda CRF 450 four-stroke, 2004, I believe it was. But I rode his 2002 or 2003 CR 250 two-stroke that had the swept back bars and was really low. And so we were just joking about that kind of stuff. And he vividly remembers all this stuff. And then we talked a little bit about, it's like he knows that regular people don't want a quote Ricky Carmichael setup. So the whole time he wasn't trying to develop a Ricky Carmichael bike. He was try to help Triumph design a bike that was going to be better for everybody. And they did a really good job. And they use it's not just Ricky. I mean, they use a lot of other test riders. Ivan Tedesco was there. There was even Cervantes, who's working probably on the enduro bikes that you're going to see pretty soon. He was there at the thing, and they pull feedback from a lot of different people, and so yeah, you should care what Ricky does. I think Ricky's a good person for our sport, and Jeff Stanton as well. Jeff Stanton was there, and Jeff and I. He remembers Langtown from back in the day. He wanted to race it because he's a big XR enthusiast. He has like one of every model year XR, and they do this grass track race that I'm still trying to get it. I guess I got an invite. Now I just got to figure out how to get a factory ride because it's hard to get my bikes back to Michigan, but want to be doing this. Back to the question, does Triumph have a beer cooler carrier? Ken? No beer cooler carrier. Just like your Speedway bikes don't have brakes. Kieran Espardo 6601. KLX 300 no Tene Represtos in Argentina. No compren. Okay. So that was from last week's show when I needed to have a translator and stuff. So we've gone through all of our questions, all of our videos, and that means it's time for everybody's favorite segment, especially if you sent something in because you can make some money. It's called Roost or Endo, brought to you by Takamoto. Takamoto makes awesome, they don't make a lot of stuff. They sell a lot of stuff. They do tunes on the Get ECUs that they sell. So they also do some tuning with DynoJet with some of their tuners. They have the answers that you might have about anything. And in reality, if you want a straight answer, Taco Mike generally gives you a straight answer. So remember, he wants to sell you stuff, but he also wants you to be happy. And so if you remember that, especially if you have your $100 gift certificate from Tech Talk Taco Tuesday in your hand, it makes it a lot easier to get that $500 or $800 ECU that you want. And this week's show, hold on, Roost or Endo, here we go. Roost or Endo, we have, I'm going to turn it on right here. There we go. It's not just a blank screen. This is from Lee Graham. This is, even though you can't tell from the photo because it's kind of blurry, he sent me a thumbnail photo. And Lee's a Canadian. I know this because he's been out here for some training before. It's a 2023 Gas EX 250F. And his coloring makes it look like a KTM because it looks orange in the back and red in the front. He tried to get the fall colors, but I think it confused the sensor on his flip phone when he took this photo. We do sometimes bitch a little bit about the photography and stuff. At least this thing is out in the wild. Although it's so blurry, I can't tell whether I really want to ride there or not, or he just rolled it out of his cave that he lives in Canada, pushed it up out of the ground. Because at this time of year, you're digging deep. You're going back into the ground in Canada. So he probably took it up for its last little bit of sun. And this bike has an Achirby skid plate. That's good. Enduro Engineering radiator guards. I think that's good too. Although since Bulletproof Design sponsors this show, you would have got bonus points for that because we just play to all of our sponsors here. Enduro Engineering handguards. Achirby's makes good handguards, but Enduro Engineering ones are good too. Moose Racing handguard braces. That's interesting. Oh, I think I've seen these before. They make it kind of like a wraparound kind of thing. Larger rear spring. Yep. And he says he's gone to Jimmy Lewis Off-Road Riding School and Rally Training. He's spending my energy, time, and money on trying to ride better, not on parts. The late season ride in Ontario on November 14th before the snow flies. Yeah, good on you, Lee, for getting out there. So, does the bike flame out? That's all I can do is look at this thing and just think that it's constantly flaming out because you don't have the end cap removed and the reeds out of it and the power up something or others. And Lee's not a little guy. That's why he has a larger rear spring. I know this. Okay, so that's submission number 1. At this point, if Lee were in the chat, he could defend himself, tell me all the things about his bike or make excuses. But he's up against Brian Dotterwick, who, here we go, Brian has 2 bikes. Oh, boy. Let me see what we got here. He took at least 4 minutes to roll the bikes out of the garage and give me the information. My 23 EC 250 and ES 500. The 23 has 880 miles, Cycra handguard, skid plate, seat concept, seat, Tusk Shark. 24 ES 500 has handguards, so only far 111.1 miles. This will be my BDR dual sport bike. I kind of read it the best I could because there's some commas, but there's some no spaces and improper punctuation and capitalization. These bikes do look pretty much brand new. It's an all gas Roost or Endo this time. So one gas will Roost and one will Endo. I'm just checking these things out. I think you have the seat concept seat on the wrong bike, but you do have a license plate on your 300 also, because you want that 500 to be like the more comfy BDR bike. You need to switch the seats because that's a good butt cushion on that 300. On the 300, you need to be standing up, and I'm noticing he doesn't say he has a on the 300, and I can't see it, but he does have the Tusk Shark on the back, and I wonder if he's hiding a Bulletproof Designs front disc rotor protector, because this has been a recurring theme. People do position their bikes, but showing how much time he took on getting me the information, which was lackluster, and the photos, which, like I said, just looks like he rolled them out of the garage. I'm kind of more interested in, the deck furniture out there, and I can't really see inside. He's got a double take mirror, and he didn't mention that on the 500. That's a sponsor plug right there. Double take mirrors. Hey, speaking of double take, have you seen their new mirror? It looks kind of like the old one, but it is so much better. If you want a double take discount code, or maybe a discount code, or maybe a little surprise from anything else, send me an email. I'm also spying a Trail Tech kickstand on that 500. If we start geeking out, I don't know if that's a stock one. I'm looking at it real close here. I haven't looked at a stock one lately to see. Is that a stock one or is that a modified one? At least the photo is of some quality. That's a nice thing. But yeah, it's a double take mirror. Best things in the. Lucky he covered up his license plate number. We wouldn't want to do that. And there's that big old seat concept butt cushion. What a nice thing. And what's up with the blue handguards? So, okay. So there's where we're at with our Rooster Endo submissions, everybody. Stock kickstand, says Tim Anderson. Thanks for pointing that out. I because the Trail Tech ones used to have those nice kind of cutouts. If you're looking for a replacement kickstand for your KTM, Trail Tech has the answer. Stronger than stock. But I tell you what, do not let those bolts get loose or strip out, because it is a pain in the ass to fix when your kickstand starts going. And like I tell people that rent our bikes, if your KTM is basically, the kickstand can barely hold up the weight of the bike, maybe the bike plus a little bit. If you crawl on and off your motorcycle with that kickstand down, you are going to be sorry you did. Oh, Brian says, no front disc guard. The 500 I just got, stock kickstand. So we got it. So Brian, since you're in the chat there, thanks for joining us on Facebook tonight. How long did it take you to construct the entire, from rolling the bikes out of the garage to pushing send on the email? I'm curious. I'm guessing, let's see, rolling the bikes out of the garage would have been like 4 minutes, and typing in that email, which looks like it was done on the phone immediately after you rolled them out of the thing. There's 12 minutes invested. East Coast Mountain Bike says, excessive flame. Hold on. Here we go. Excessive flame outside. He means on excessive flame outs on my Husky 350 usually means it's time to clean the fuel injector. We have to have the discussion about like what actually is a flame out. Is it just stalling, or is it backfiring, or is it like too low of an RPM? It's like, is it like bad jetting? Like flame out. 5 minutes. Okay. So at this, let's see, 5, 10, 6. So I'm just doing math here, which kind of hurts my head. But we're talking about if you won tonight, you're operating at an efficiency of, let's see, $600, $1,200 an hour. That's it, of you taking pictures, timing this thing out, and you're up against Lee, who's not showing up in the chat right now. He's winning. Lee is winning because he's come to my schools before, and I have a bias. Usually, I'm really torn on this one. I want to disqualify both of you guys because Lee's photo was freaking horrific, and your photo took all of 5 minutes. I'm investing 2 hours of my life here tonight to bring you this super quality content, and I get 5 minutes of Rooster Endo. But good job on you for getting it in before the bell. So otherwise, we'd have a one bike Rooster Endo with Lee's photo, he sent it in immediately after the last show. So, you know what, Brian? I think you're giving me more enjoyment. So I will send you. I'll reply back to your email with some information to get in touch with Taco Mike at there, and then you can be on your way to getting that 500 dialed in for BDRs. So thanks for joining the show. Thanks for watching. Tell a friend. Actually, tell your friends, Brian. Tell your friends to send their bikes in for Rooster Endo, and tell them if they take longer than 5 minutes. Because you would have been, if there would have been one more. Actually, I'm scared to look. I'm scared to look at what Victor sent me because he was up against you. I think it was something about a Yamaha IT-175, so I have no idea. $1,200 an hour. That's what retired guys make. Yeah. Good times. Hey, it's good that you're spending your money on dirt bikes. That's always a good thing. But thanks for doing this. Thank you to Takomoto. That's takomoto.co. Check them out on the webs. They are also kind of the ones that are behind that EXE FE performance group. And Taco Mike does go in there and kind of moderate a lot of that stuff and answer questions. And you would almost not know that it's Mike from Takomoto that's behind that, because it's not like he's on there just constantly pushing his stuff. Actually, his customers are on there constantly pushing his stuff, because anytime you ask a question about an ECU, or you're thinking about modifying your bike and you crowdsources, his customers come running back and tell you all the things that they bought there and all the things that they did, and just makes it ridiculously confusing, I think, for people that are asking the questions. So we're going to go back to our chat here. With the fuel injection bikes, it was typically a map for ECU, TPS out of adjustment, or dirty injector, says Tim Anderson. So I will agree with you on all of those. Most of the time when I had bikes that ran crappy or flamed out more than stock, if there's a thing called a flame out, or I had issues with the bike not running properly, in other words, stalling and or surging or backfiring, it was result of a ECU that was not as good as stock, and whether that's a modified one or a reprogrammed one or one that Billy Bob sent you a flash for, that. The TPS out of adjustment, yes, for sure. The TPS out of adjustment and or the throttle position sensor going bad, though very rare, it does happen. So, and then a dirty injector. I have had so little experience with dirty injectors, and my experience with dirty injectors usually starts with 3/4 throttle and above, or very high RPM stuff, not low RPM stuff. And so I start identifying a lack of power or a lack of pull at high RPM, or you get up to high RPM and you feel the power decrease when it shouldn't. That's when I notice fuel injector stuff. And anytime I notice that, and it's been 3 times since I've had fuel injected bikes, I took my fuel injector out and cleaned it, and I never had any further problems. I had one bike that it did it about 100 and something miles away from anywhere, and I was able to nurse the bike back. And by the time I got it back, it would only run about quarter throttle. For sure it was having idle issues and things like that. But if the fuel injector is causing low RPM problems, it's been a long time. You should have felt it. You should have felt it earlier. But yeah, and a lot of times it's other things that if you're having a dirty fuel injector or a plugged fuel injector, and I've never had in cars, I think I've had fuel injectors go bad where they like stuck open and did stuff. So maybe I'm talking a little bit out of line, but I've never had that problem on a motorcycle. If your fuel injector is getting dirty, there's a problem someplace else. Like your filter is not working properly. Your fuel filter is not working properly. Your fuel filters are allowing debris to pass through the fuel lines after the fuel filter. There's something going on there. There's lots of stuff to be causing this sort of issue. So, anyways, so that's it. I think the chat can agree or disagree with me. I think I successfully answered 9 out of 10 questions without going to the reference manual. I have to take a peek at Victor's. Oh geez. Yeah, Victor, that's going in Rooster Endo next week. Yep, we got. There's at least one entry. So we've answered our tribe questions. We've answered our YouTube videos. And what else? I noticed I have more copyright violations on YouTube for sounds like this. Yeah, there we go. I'm gonna have to now. I'm not gonna make any money, but since Mike Kamet gave us $10, which is super awesome, I really appreciate that. And yeah, if you have any questions, Mike, you go to the front of the line by doing that, by giving us a few bucks here. So we made like kind of 5 times as much money as we've ever made on this show before, and we have some new messages. So here we go. Motorsport says buying a fuel out of a Coke bottle in Mexico can cause fuel injector issues. Not if you have a good fuel filter. Well, I don't know. So you can have weird chemicals that get past the fuel filter that do stuff, but yeah, generally that's the fluid, and the fuel injector will pass the fluid through. Because I have these screens that there's these really neat socks that I have that'll actually take all the water out of gas that I've used before, some different stuff. So keep your fuel filters clean, and you probably don't have to clean them as much as you think, unless you're pouring dirt and other Mexican Coke bottle gas into your bike. I'll just say that. So, man, we've had a good show. We haven't even dropped any frames. This is amazing. I don't know how I fixed it, but if you're around tomorrow and during the day and your job is really boring and you want to get fired, check out Today in the Shop. I'm going to do a KTM 500 rebuild at some point, I hope, if I don't have to go riding or have meetings about motocross parks and stuff like that. Hot Shoe Hall of Fame. The Hot Shoe Hall of Fame is going on the first part of January in Las Vegas. Support that. If you know somebody that should be in the Hot Shoe Hall of Fame, I'm already in it, so you can't support me. Let me know. I can send you an application to have somebody abducted into that. I think I'm gonna abduct 2 people that I know, and then the Off-Road Motorsports Hall of Fame. You can go check out some cool stuff there. That's larger. That's all off-road, not just guys that slid around in tracks or made impacts on 2 wheels. The Off-Road Hall of Fame is all off-road, which is like Baja and short track racing and anything to do with the dirt. You can go to Off-Road Motorsports Hall of Fame, omhoff.org, and check that out. If you want to have some bad dreams, Jerry Bernardo wrote a book for you. It's called Coffee Brewed with a Graveyard Mist. Maybe we'll read a section from that one of these times when I need to. I'm reading it right now, and it's scaring me. I'll put it away. Okay. I think that's really it. Be sure to support us. Go to dirtbiketest.com. Watch our videos. Click on that little tab up there that says support us. Let's make an impact this week, people. Let's buy some stuff. Like with this Black Friday thing coming up, go to the Amazon one when you buy that new TV set or whatever you're going to buy on Black Friday, blow up dolls or whatever you got going, Victor. I don't know. Essay. Hey, hold on. Yeah, just getting down there, Victor, Okay. Keeping it real. What else is going on? I think that's really it. I think I'm going to get my XR150 video going up, which should be pretty cool. Honda XR150. I have a thing for XRs. Don't know what else to tell you about. If you have questions, comments, or concerns, for sure leave them in the chat. You can always reach us. My name at dirtbiketest.com. Not my name, but whatever my name is. I say it enough. My name is Jimmy Lewis. But it's just the first part of my name, and you can make this show better by giving us content. I'm gonna have the best part about this show sometimes is I at the end of the show I'll go ahead and pour myself some. I'm gonna throw it onto the emergency cam, by the way, in case there's an emergency. We always have this camera because this would be an emergency situation. What I'm doing right there, actually, just put that thing down. When all else fails, so if I'm on the emergency cam, so sometimes I'll do this at the end of the show. I'll have one for the show, and then I kind of do the sign off. And the next morning when I come back to re-edit everything, I find a half a shot of tequila sitting here. So here's for tomorrow. And with that, we will see you out in the trail. Cheers, everybody. Till next week. Ciao. If you liked what you saw in this video, come check us out over at dirtbiketest.com on the webs. We have bike tests, product tests, a lot of fresh dirt, and you can even support us by clicking through our links. Hopefully, we'll see you out in the trail.